Rixt.
Yes. Hello.
What have you been doing?
Driving.
Yeah. You've been teaching the last few days?
Yes. Oh, no, I haven't been teaching the last few days. The last few days I've been putting together an online course that's going to be launched in January.
What's the website?
It's right there. Yeah, on top of that thingy. Where did he put it? That one. Yes.
But your website is rixtherbals.co.nz, right?
Yes.
That's your existing website?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is a subdomain that's been opened up so that you can go directly there and enroll.
Ah, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for anybody who has an interest in herbal medicine because things will be explained very clearly, but it's also for professionals who want to learn more about low dosage or about dosing methodologies or posologies, as we call it. So it's a whole broad spectrum.
Yeah. You said pathology, is that right?
Posology.
Oh, posology.
Posology.
Yeah,
Posology.
just explain that.
Posology is actually the terminology used or the term or the name used for dosage methodology.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the official term, posology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, we should probably start this podcast. Rix, would you like to introduce to our audience what you've been doing your whole life?
Well, that's a short and easy answer.
Since I'm going to be 65 in a few weeks' time, that's a long time.
No, you don't look a day over 64.
Yeah. Thanks.
No, you're welcome.
I was born in the Netherlands, so in 1960. So I was one of the baby boomers. And we immigrated to New Zealand in 1971. And I studied, or did part of my schooling here. I first did many different types of jobs, like welding, tolls operator, bank clerk, state insurance, ACC, you name it, weeding. I did all sorts. And then I became very sick because I was a horticulturist and sprayed a lot with, Roundup and things like that.
Yeah.
And bare feet and,
and the poisons
shorts.
of the day.
Yeah, and bare feet and shorts, know. And so it was no wonder. And I was
that's because they were safe and effective, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I believed that. That's what it said.
Yeah.
Non-toxic. But I was also a heavy smoker and didn't eat too well, drank lots of Coca-Cola and stuff. So I became sick and didn't get any results. So then I decided to go and find out about herbal medicine. And that's really where my journey started.
Is that where your first sort of introduction to herbal medicine came from? Yeah.
Yes, I was 24 or 25 at the time.
And what year are we at that point? About 1985?
75.
75.
Yeah, a bit older.
Yeah, right.
And so, oh no, you're right.
I was going to say, didn't you say you were born in 1960?
Yes.
Yeah, I can do
math.
basic math, but just the most basic. So
That's
1985, smoking, Coca-Cola,
and then
toxic, sprays.
I replaced the Coca-Cola because somebody showed me how a gold coin got destroyed, cleaned by Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, I
yeah.
better not drink Coca-Cola. So I changed to a bottle of wine every night.
Much cleaner living.
Yeah.
There are people who are going to be watching this thinking that we're judgy. Well, I'm not judging.
No.
I'm on my second bottle already.
Yes.
So often we start our personal healing journey when we get sick. So this was the catalyst for you, right?
Yeah. And I not only became sick, but I ended up with illnesses that were really weird for my age. I had gout at the age of 21.
Okay.
And some weird stuff. The strangest thing, so, glandular fever. And in hindsight, I'm very happy all that happened because that helped me now with it being a herbalist.
For sure.
I had all these experiences of all these illnesses, like we had back then what we call the Tapanui flu, which is like similar to long COVID, or, like the exhaustion and after a virus and things like that.
Was that a real thing, the Tapanui flu?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a joke name.
No.
I got the Tapanui flu.
Yeah, no.
Like it was a real thing.
Yeah, and that was when you had long-term effects of being exhausted and tired and not being able to get out of bed and feeling ill. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I had symptoms like that too. I had lots of things, lots of weird and wonderful things, which weren't nice at the time, but in hindsight, it was actually a very good thing because when I when I decided to become a herbalist, I was 27 because I thought I want to make sure that my body is clean before I have children. I wanted to have children. So at the age of 25, I consciously decided to change my lifestyle.
But how did you come across that idea as a concept?
Because I believed it wasn't fair to put a child into life that didn't have a choice. So I'm very much about choice.
Right.
I believe people should have choice. Doesn't matter what the choice is and what they decide, they should have that choice. And I thought it was really unfair for future children to make the choice of ill health for them. I wanted to make sure the vessel that they were created in was the cleanest as possible.
And you'd come to that sort of belief without even having studied herbs at that stage?
Yes.
Or medical herbs? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I just didn't think it was fair.
So that was more of an intuitive feeling.
Yeah, but maybe it's a
combination of it just arose within you.
To me, I think, to me that was just normal. I don't know. I never sort of thought about it until you asked me that question.
But it's a beautiful concept or idea.
Yeah, I just
do that.
Yeah, I just didn't think it was right to have all these addictions in my body.
Yeah.
Because I was very addicted to smoking. I was smoking like 30 or 40 cigarettes a day, roll-me-ons.
Yeah.
You know?
Was that the time, was that what reflected New Zealand in the mid-'80s? Or did that reflect your upbringing because you're a Dutch Kiwi?
Yeah, well, I'm not a Dutch Kiwi. I'm actually Dutch and Indonesian.
And Indonesian?
That's right.
My father.
Something similar there with Rob.
Yeah, we share that. I remember when we first met.
Yeah.
We found out we had that in common because that's my heritage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So my father was a smoker, and we always had passive smoking. You know, back then you smoked in the house and the cigarettes everywhere. So to me, smoking was something nice because it belonged to my parents, right?
It was the smell of
It
home.
was just, so I actually got introduced to smoking by my wonderful 19-year-old brother when we were sailing to New Zealand on the boat. And he says, why don't you have a puff? And it was instant addiction because all of us were smokers. We're instantly
essentially
addicted.
By being passive smokers.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like the thing to do, normal.
Well, yeah.
That's what you do, you smoke, before we actually discovered the harmful effects or what a potential
back then you didn't.
Health.
Yeah, but back then people didn't think it was that harmful because some doctors were prescribing it for people for relaxation.
Yeah.
You know, in their 60s. And so we didn't have that concept as much. It was there, but not as much. But I mean, I was smoking regularly when I was 12, and when I was 16, I was a really heavy smoker. And I also liked it because back then, women didn't smoke drum and roll-me-ons in New Zealand, but they did in Holland because that's a Dutch tobacco. And in Holland, all the women, everybody would smoke roll-me-ons. So to me, going to a club, in my nice outfit and makeup on, and then sit there and roll a smoke in New Zealand as a woman, that was like a conversation piece, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. It would be.
That was like weird.
Yeah.
Women just didn't do that back then in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an announcement of me being Dutch.
I was going to say it's the connection back to your Dutch, the Dutchness. Oh, there's something exotic and different.
Yes,
that you've brought. Just rolling up the
So you had children then.
Yeah, and my first husband, he was a heavy smoker too.
Right.
So I was able to just stop with him, and I told him the only thing he had to do was not smoke in the house. So I could stop. If he wanted to continue, that was fine.
Right.
And it's very hard. I'm thinking back, that's very hard to stop smoking like that cold turkey.
It's very hard for one person in a partnership to not either make the other one do it or then revert to what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because together you just do one thing or the other usually.
That's right. That's right. But it just showed, thinking back, it just showed my sheer determination and my individualism. Which I didn't realize at the time. But now I'm thinking back, whoa, that was actually a pretty cool step to do. Just do it. And I do that. Once I make up my mind, it's just, I do it.
You do it. Yeah.
No matter who around me or what people think around me, if it feels right, I just do it. Yeah. But I had a bigger picture because I wanted to have children. So to me, it was life for them.
So when was the training begun for medical herbalism?
So I was 27, nearly 28, and I was already pregnant with my first child when I started studying.
Right.
So I studied at South Pacific College. I started early. I wanted to just be a medical herbalist, and I just wanted to be a medical herbalist, not to practice, because I was thinking to myself, I can't bear listening to people moaning to me every day.
Right.
I'll just do it for my kids.
Yeah.
Is that why you also became a teacher? Because then you didn't have to deal with patients.
Oh, no, not at all. Actually, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I turned to really love it. That's my passion. My passion is to help people and to have people tell you, oh my gosh, I feel so much better, you know? Yeah.
And so what did you discover during your studies that worked for you in terms of the dosage or what to use? Like, can you remember that?
Well, we were taught in low dosage back then. So drop dosage in herbal tinctures or hydroalcoholic extracts was a very normal event. So it wasn't unusual. It wasn't until the 1990s when some people came from Australia and from the UK, and some of the Australians were UK trained, that the dosages were really increased and upped.
Why was that? More is better?
Well, I've done a lot of research on it, and I've talked to a lot of people and really looked at the background of it and why that changed. Partially, and I'm not saying it's solely, but partially it was also because some of the companies it was company driven, and of course when you have drops instead of milliliters or fluid ounces, it doesn't make as much financial, money. So that's one of the reasons. The other one is also they did a lot of clinical trials and they wanted to be recognized in the allopathic sense in the medical field. So when you're working with of drop dosages or low dosages, their concept was that there wouldn't be enough active therapeutic actions or therapeutic active chemical constituents in it to have an effect. That was their concept. So they wanted to prove, in a sense, to the medical field that it was a worthy treatment. Yeah.
I mean, allopathic drugs, which are in some cases based on natural medicines, use such high doses themselves.
Yeah. Well, they don't actually. I did that research too, because like aspirin is like minuscule amounts.
Tiny amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it actually, and they know
that's interesting.
that. Yeah.
That exposes a flawed belief I had then, because I thought the allopathic doses, so the medicines your doctor will prescribe you at your average GP are so powerful that they're trying to, at that stage in the history of, we're talking late 80s now, right? That they're trying to do those clinical case studies to prove that they're just as good by using equally strong doses of herbs. But maybe not the case.
That's part of it too.
Yeah.
That's part of it too. Yeah, because they wanted to prove there was enough chemical constituents or active constituents in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
to
that's
sort of meet a therapeutic
part
effect.
Of it too. Yeah. It is not just one sole reason, but there are a combination of reasons. And that's why they were doing all those clinical trials, to be recognized and to be accepted in the medical realms, which is kind of interesting because until the 1900s or even early 1900s, it was always herbal medicine in the medical realms.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
And then at some point we transitioned to the modern medicine.
Yeah.
And then how would you describe the relationship between modern medicine and herbalism now?
In which country?
In New Zealand.
In New Zealand?
Yeah.
Well, of course, as you're well aware, allopathic medicine is the one that's most recognised.
Sure.
Medical herbalism is not recognised, but you do have a number of doctors and nurses who will work with people or themselves are trained in both. So you do have that, and we do combine with people. I mean, it also depends where you are. I come from Northland, and they're much more open-minded about herbal medicine or rongoa and the interaction with that. I had I don't know, about 5 years ago, I ended up going to Kaitaia Hospital for a reason myself. And the doctor there, he was Maori, and it was really actually amazing because he just told me, he said, "What are you taking?" And I was just being honest, all the herbs I was taking. And he said, he actually suggested another herb as well, and manage it like that first and see how it goes because it was working. And he knew I had so much experience too. So, I've been doing this for now 37 years, so it's quite a while. But there was a very open-mindedness to it. And it depends where you are, or it depends on the doctor themselves. But if you're talking about other countries, like I have a friend who's a doctor, she's a Russian doctor, and in their education, they do a minimum of 2 years of herbal medicine.
Wow.
And I know a Pakistani pharmacist up north as well, and I was training her in the pharmacy the other day, and she said in Pakistan, every pharmacist does 4 years of herbal medicine, and they give herbal medicine before they would even recommend allopathic medicine. So it depends what country you're in. When you're talking about this division or this strong belief of just allopathic medicine, we're talking more about the English-speaking countries in the world. Not any of the others. In Russia, there's so much herbal medicine. There's vast areas where they don't even have allopathic medicine, and every person learns how to use herbal medicines themselves, and they still have their, sort of wise people, so to speak, to help in their areas, because it's such a vast country with so many different cultures, really, Russia, So, yeah, it's interesting. That's what I've learned while I did this research, is that it's really only a small amount of the world, and mainly English-speaking countries, that push the allopathic, what's the word I'm trying to think of, the allopathic concept, or it's not quite the word I'm thinking of, but do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's only a small group of countries that just go fully Western medical.
That's right.
At the exclusion of any other considerations.
Yes.
I get it. Look, one of the reasons I felt it was such a great get to have you on the show was because I know, and you'll probably not articulate it in this way, but you're one of the great herbalists in our country. You've taught so many herbalists, of whom I've personally met and spent time with, and it's a real privilege to have you on the show. And I'm glad that, we caught you whilst doing your PR for your book, because it's an amazing book. This is actually my copy, and you can see it's a little bit more worn, and I'm enjoying that. But the exciting thing is you've now got a course in this subject. I'm going to read it out. Low dosage methodology in herbal medicine is now something that can be attended as an online course where you personally interact with the students as well. That's great, because that's going to get it out to a whole lot more people who have an interest in herbal medicine. But what's the angle here that's distinctively different? I mean, it's one thing to say low dose, just meaning less, but there's something else going on here, right? Where the effect of the herbs is coming in in a different way, and that doesn't just mean like homeopathy, does it?
No.
Can you clear all that up for me?
Yes. So a lot of people tend to think that low dosage is homeopathy, which it actually isn't. Homeopathy is not just herbs either. It's, it can be snake venom or whatever, which is diluted and then succussed, so an energy is driven into it. Or if you're looking at the anthropological side, that they do the swaying. It's a little bit of a different way of getting the energy succussed into it. Yeah, moved into it, and it's about diluting and succussing, diluting and succussing. And so the more diluted it becomes, the stronger it becomes, and it doesn't have any active constituents in there anymore.
And that's homeopathy.
So that's homeopathy. So it's solely an energetic type of medicine, which is a great medicine, but it's just a different medicine.
Are you talking about the energetic intelligence of the plant or the herb? Is that what you're saying, or from the person that's?
No, from the plant or the part that's in it, whether it's snake venom or mercury or whatever that's in it, or arsenic, whatever. it's that energy of that, and what it creates when it's taken on a healthy person, and what it dissipates when the sick person takes it. It fits the whole symptom picture, mentally, emotionally, physically. So that's homeopathy.
I think we better just cross this road whilst we're on that topic, because we're about to depart the topic of homeopathy and talk about low dose and why that's different. But for everyone who's listening to this and not understanding homeopathy, you just mentioned a bunch of poisons.
Yes, I did.
Right. And they'll be thinking, how does that work? How does that help someone? Even if they have enough understanding to go, there's no actual poison in this. You've done a process of, what is it? Succussion?
Yes.
Which kind of like beats the quantum.
And potentization.
Which pushes the frequency of the energy of that poison into a substance that the person takes as drops, but chemically has none of the actual poison in it.
That's
just
right.
It holds the frequency. How does that help? How does a poisonous frequency help anyone that's healthy anyway? Well,
because what they did testing on it. What they call proving the remedies. And so the healthy individuals would take the remedy and they would all write down what it would do to them. Because when you take the remedy with a healthy person, you actually get the symptoms the remedy is supposed to treat. Yeah, and that's how they. I mean, this is a very basic way of explaining it, and basically that's how they become. They create a symptology of a remedy or a symptom picture of a remedy. So, for example, when I take this remedy, I don't like the sunshine. It bothers me. I like to lay in my bed and all cuddled up, and I want to be held. It made me want to cry. I only like the color blue. All that sort of thing has an impact. And then when a homeopath gets a person into clinic and gets them to question, a classical homeopath, and question them, they ask you all those questions. What color do you like? And sometimes you wonder, why am I here for an hour and a half answering all this? Because they want to pick out the exact remedy that fits your symptom picture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the wonderful thing about homeopathy is if you pick the exact remedy for that person, you can not only shift the presenting symptoms, but it goes in deep layers and it just can do all these unfolding of everything and treat so many other things within that person. But it's up to the homeopath to get the right remedy. So that sometimes they'll try one and then they'll try another one and they'll try another one to see, because it's not an easy concept, but it can be easy too, because sometimes the symptoms are so clear. Yeah.
Well, if you're working with frequencies that homeopaths are, it sounds like to me homeopaths are the world's first quantum mechanics. They're sort of working on a frequency level before that scientific idea was even heard of.
Well, yes and no. It has actually been heard of by Native American and indigenous people all around the world, and that's all they would hear is the frequencies and the energies of plants, and because there has potentization is not only this, that's the cushion. Potentization is also how it's extracted into the water. So when we talk about flower essences, for example, batch flowers or bark flowers, as some people call it, but it's actually batch. I've read in areas where, like in the Aborigines, the waters, the puddles, would have plant matter floating on it, and the sun would extract that energy into that water. And that's how the batch flowers came about. That's how Dr. Batch found them. He would see the sun dew, the dewdrops on the flowers, and the sun shining on it, and he's thinking, oh, wonder what is in that water that is extracting it from those flowers. That's how they were created. And then he recreated it by having a bowl of, a crystal bowl with that water in it, spring water, putting the flowers on top, leaving it in the sun for 3 hours, and then used that water. And that's what batch flowers are, bark flowers.
Right.
The water. So that's called potentization, but it doesn't get succussed.
Right.
So that's a different aspect again. But
and
it's
that's
sort
not
of,
low dosage herbalism.
That's not low dosage herbalism.
All right, you better explain
That's
that.
energy. That's energy, yes. So low dosage herbalism, we'll get to that now.
Okay.
Is actually herbal tinctures and if you don't know what a herbal tincture is, a herbal tincture is where herbs are put in alcohol and left for a period of time. It varies in each country. And the alcohol extracts active constituents or the chemicals, the medicines out of it. Yeah, that alcohol is then used as medicine. That is where you use drops from it. So we call an extract. That's an extract. It's extracted. But we also call it, most commonly it's called a hydroalcoholic extract, because each country has a different name for it, but that's the official name for it. And I've used that official name. I'm trying to get that to be recognized worldwide so that we can get an even field that everybody's talking about exactly the same thing. So it's a hydroalcoholic extract. So we use drops from that. So it's extracted those active constituents. It's changed the color of the alcohol, and so you still have those active constituents in those drops. So all you do is use your way of extracting it. Different countries do it for different times, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, in the sun, not in the sun, in the cupboard, blah, blah, blah. And then drops are used from that. 1 or 2 drops, depending on which country. In New Zealand, we would use from half a drop to 5 drops per dose. In Australia, the most common is 5 to 15. In other countries, up to 30 drops per dose is seen as drop dosage.
Which countries have the higher classification of a small dose?
The UK is pretty high with drop dose, but also then again some parts of the UK, like Scotland, isn't. So. It's
just
varies.
to clarify, low dose and drop dose. Two words for the same thing, or?
Okay. Drop dose is where you're taking drops from the hydroalcoholic extracts. Low dose is if you're making a tea or anything infused in an oil or a water. Yeah. Decoction. Decoction means it's boiled. Yeah. Then we use that at low dosages.
Okay, so
you don't get to use
drop dose is lower than low dose?
No, it's the same.
It's the same?
It's the same, but it's just drop dose is only used for alcoholic extracts.
Okay.
Because when you make a tea, for example, say you make a 3-pot tea, 3-cup teapot, and in low dose, you would only put in 1 tablespoon, which can be between 1 to 3 grams, right? But in the heroic, the dosages that they're teaching you now, you'd use 30 grams, 10 times that amount. So then that tea is low dosage because you're not using drops from that cup of tea.
Did you just say heroic dose?
Yes, that's high dose.
That's a phrase in common parlance that is returning, where someone jokingly says, I took a heroic dose, like they were on the alcohol or something and they were having a good night out. But it actually comes from herbalism.
No, it actually comes from science. I found it amongst a lot of literatures, the academic literature. So I decided to call I didn't decide. The high doses have been referred to as heroic doses.
Right.
So I thought if that's a low dose, then that's a heroic dose, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you're looking at 1 gram of a herb compared to 30 grams of a herb for the same amount of water that you add to it, boiled water to make your tea, that's huge difference. And yeah.
And just, when you're with these dosages, wouldn't it be specific to each individual?
Of course.
So that's tailored, obviously, and prescribed. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally talk about a person-specific dose.
Yeah.
That's what I call it, a PSD, a person-specific dose. Right. Specific to that person at that time in their lifetime, and where they're at, who they're at, what ethnicity they are can also have an impact on the dose. What is the climate out there that can also have an impact on the dose. So
there's all these other variables
environmental
you have to take and consider, obviously. Yeah. Because it can't just be one size fits all.
No.
Take 3 drops or whatever and you're good for everyone.
No, it isn't. That's
doesn't
right.
Work that way. Yeah.
No, and also what you might need today might be different next week because you might have had a car accident in between, and then your whole stress levels have changed. So the dosage changes with that. Yeah.
Okay, so when we're talking about a low dose philosophy,
yes,
and I'd love to get on to hearing some examples of how it's working well compared to a traditional dosage. Do we just, for the sake of ease of conversation, lump drop dose and low dose together, or is there definitely an exclusion there because drop dose is going to refer to alcohol extracts only?
Drop dose is low dose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can just talk about it as low dose generally.
That's why the book is called Low Dosage.
Because you'll cover both. I see.
Exactly.
So would you mind giving me some examples of the shift in the advantage to the low dose philosophy versus what you had also done for years, which was, I guess, traditional herbalism, which was higher doses?
No, I've never done high dose.
Did you never mix it with the two?
Well, no, I shouldn't say that.
Okay.
I do a person-specific dose. So if a person needs a high dose, I will give them a high dose. But the need for a high dose is rare. It's more rare than people realize. You can treat people with lower dosages that a lot of people are not aware of that you can do. So it's been very rare that I use mill dosages. I think I've only used mill dosages on myself once or twice, and that was for acute pain. But even then, that's not across the board because some people, low dosages are much better for acute pain.
How many low dose practitioners are there out there at the moment?
Well, there's a lot of my generation, and it is changing because I just recently did also a talk in the Naturopathic College here in New Zealand, bringing my book back into the curriculum and bringing low dosages and drop dosages back into the curriculum. So I'm there on a yearly basis now teaching as well. So it is changing again, but it was low dose. There were many low dosage herbalists until the early 2000s because that's when I was teaching and head of faculty at the Herbal College.
So for someone who's been seeing their local herbalist for a while who doesn't do low dosage or have that philosophy in their treatment approach, they're coming home with bottles of stuff, right? It's a lot of content of stuff that they hold when they come home and they get it up, set it up on the bench, and they look at the regime for the next few weeks of what they're taking. That's an image, I guess, that's appropriate when you describe mill dosages, right? That's that.
Yeah, and I shouldn't
many bottles filled of many mills.
And I shouldn't just call it mill dosages because that gets confusing for people overseas as well. Oh. It's fluid ounces as well.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So it's working in fluid ounces or milliliters. Mill, lots of people don't even realize what mill means, so I should have been clear on that. It's milliliters or fluid ounces.
Yeah, I gathered you were talking about milliliters as in the volume or...
Yeah. Well, we would understand here, but like in the US, they probably wouldn't understand it the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're not metric over there.
Pounds versus kilos.
Yes. Yes. But you see, one thing I feel really needs to be said here, the biggest thing for me here is not about dosing, it's about what it does to our plant world. There are so many plants that are becoming extinct because of overcultivation.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's the right word.
Yeah. And so when, for example, when I already gave that example, 1 gram versus 30 grams, it's the same like when you say somebody comes home with all these bottles. Yeah. If you look at a 200 milliliter, or I think it's 2 fluid ounces or something like that. Anyway, a large bottle of tincture or herbal extract that they need to take, the comparisons of how long that lasts is not just days, it's years.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, so not only do you save a lot on plant material and less likely for plants to become extinct and they'd still be there for the next generations, but you also save people money. So that's less stress in their health.
Certainly.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it can be quite expensive purchasing herbs.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah, and when a person can get the same results with drops as they can with higher doses, heroic doses, then and save themselves money and save the plants and the planet, because really if we're using more plants, then we get less oxygen and, you know, all that sort of web of life connection. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of the web of life connection, like everything's connected and we're a part of nature, obviously. And, you know, without getting, well, not too woo-woo, with the plant kingdom or realm, like I understand, would you say that the plants, the trees have a specific consciousness? Yeah,
no doubt.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that basically, we're so disconnected from that we, ancient cultures and in other traditions, they have that strong relationship, and that's how they can sort of speak, talk to the plant kingdom or realms. And of course, we're a lot of people are disconnected to that. So having, that conscious relationship would be so beneficial for us, wouldn't it?
Totally.
For our own health and well-being, and having, just being open to that.
Well, the thing is, I think it's more, again, the Western world that's become most disconnected. I'm glad you bring that up because I love this subject too.
Yeah. I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, and I'm very connected to plant world. Yeah. We are very connected, and it's actually been scientifically proven now that the World Wide Web, or the web of life, is actually a concept that is not just made up by Indigenous people, but there's specifically there's a scientist called Susan Simard. She wrote the Finding the Mother Tree. And she was a scientist, and she had to find out how to grow forestry better, or that was part of her concept. And so what she found was that, and at the same time, before I heard about it, I also started thinking about how things might be connected. I'm just going to diversify for a moment, because what I found a lot over the years is that when people are sick, the plants they need will grow either under their bedroom window or in their backyard.
Wow.
Yeah. And I always, I because I'm fascinated with things like that, I'd always ask people, what grows near you? And then I know what was going on, and I'd be like, aha, that makes sense. And so when you look back at Indigenous knowledge, that is actually part, it's a true thing that the plants you need will grow. So I started thinking, well, if that is actually true, how does this plant know this?
How does that work?
Yeah, how does it work? So then I realized that underneath our feet, there's this huge root work, right? Every plant is connected by roots.
Yes.
So I thought, oh my gosh, it's like an internet, an internet of roots. And I had already come to this concept, and I was really fascinated. And I actually written this story in the book because I'm at a market selling my products. And lo and behold, after 30 years, my old science teacher happened to come to my stall, Mr. Whitley, and I got all excited. And I said, "Oh, Mr. Whitley, I just suddenly thought about, how we might have this, internet underneath our feet." And he didn't look surprised. He said, "Oh yeah, that's been proven," he says. And he diverted me to this book of Susan Simard. He said, "That's absolutely true." So what happens is that there's a fungus in that root, and that communicates.
The mycelium.
Yes.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, and that communicates, and even they work totally harmoniously. So even if one tree that isn't even their species is sick, they will send a whole lot of food to that tree.
Right.
And all the little babies send certain foods, and if there's a danger, then the messages will be sent, and or somebody's eating you, so let's create this active constituent so that if they eat me, they'll get sick, that sort of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So that then made sense because we walk on there, right? So we are also energetic beings.
Yeah, not so much anymore with our footwear.
I think we're more so than we believe. I think so. Yeah, I mean, bare feet's always good, but I think so. So that sort of put that concept in me, like, okay, maybe that is why the plant knows. And this specific science teacher and another science teacher actually had us, way back then, when you learn science, they could do whatever they want. And we did an experiment with plants, tomato plants, and the tomato plants were put in a room. In one room, we had to say how much we loved them and cuddled them and fed them. And the other one, you just fed them. And in the other room, they had them with heavy metal music and telling them how disgusting they looked and how horrible they were and all that stuff. And we did this for, I think it was 4 to 6 weeks. Can't remember exactly. But it was fascinating. That really made an impact when I was 14 years old. Made such an impact.
Wow.
Because the plants that were yelled at were so stunted. And the plants that were just normal just started flowering. But the plants that were loved up had all these little fruits on them, and grew like this.
Amazing.
So to me, that was like a strange concept.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's the power of intention, and obviously the power of your thoughts. And then you take that a step further and you think of your internal dialogue and what you tell yourself, and so much of it is unconscious and or stemming from a place of a wound or a trauma. I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, etc. I'm not lovable. So you imagine that energy constantly happening in your internal body, and that's what you're putting out into the field. And it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. This is powerful stuff.
Yeah,
like
sure.
if everything is energy and everything is vibration or frequency, and we know this, right? So we know this. We have technology and we can't see how it works. It's an energy. It's a field.
Well,
It's something. Yeah, our thoughts.
Well, famously, the Japanese researcher
Emoto.
Emoto.
Yeah, exactly.
Great name, right, for someone who was using emotions. His name was Emoto, but he was Japanese, and he would freeze ice crystals after giving it that energy or that emotional state in a fluid state, and then freeze it and see what happened. And a lot of people have repeated that now.
Yeah, and I've actually got pictures of that in the book.
Oh, and I should complete that for someone who doesn't know. Then the crystals are malformed if they were given ugly thoughts, words, and phrases, but beautifully formed as frozen crystals if given loving thoughts. Even names of people put into them gave a beautiful, and the word thank you.
In different languages.
Yeah, I was listening to a friend's podcast, shout out to Jacks and Unicorns and Hand Grenades, and they had a numerologist on there, and she was saying like the most powerful frequency is gratitude. I always thought, obviously, love, unconditional love is a powerful force, but it just makes you, if you're just grateful, if you're just grateful for little things and deep appreciation, just feel into yourself how you feel if you do that with the little things and consistently,
Yeah.
So it's just that whole mind, body, and then the plant connection. It's just an intelligence there, and it's just so cool that you discovered that early on, and then carried on with that journey.
It's fascinating. Yeah. It's like a puzzle, isn't it? Yeah.
So how are people responding to this low dose approach? I'm so keen to hear about an example, if you can give one.
Well, you mean by taking it or responding to the thought, the idea of it?
Yeah, great clarification. I mean by taking it, though.
Okay, by taking it.
Because in terms of responding to the thought of it, anyone who's interested in herbalism is probably going to find this interesting because it's a different approach to a topic they already have a passion for. Why wouldn't they find it interesting? But the patients who go, okay, I'll take this much smaller dose than I've ever seen before. Or they don't know, maybe they don't have a comparison with what other herbalists are doing, but they're taking a low dose. How is that affecting them differently?
I don't know if it's affecting them differently, but it's affecting them positively. So I can give you one example for my echinacea that I've been making for many, many years. And it actually gets sold in some pharmacies and herbal shops. But anyway, I have many people over the years been using it as a prophylactic, as a preventative to get sick, or even when they get sick at only 2 drops per dose. And some people only take 2 drops per dose every day and then don't get the flu for the whole winter. And you could say, okay, that could be a mindset. Obviously, it could be a mindset as well. But there are so many reports that I get over the years that I get back from nurses and midwives and all sorts that just show me how effective it is. You don't need a lot because when you take echinacea, it tingles. So when it tingles, you already know it's stimulating in your body. And it's already stimulating all the different parts of your body. So that's one. But I've also had a case where somebody had low blood pressure, and the low blood pressure, like extremely low blood pressure, they were crawling. They was really sick, and I had to get their blood pressure up really fast. So I gave them a bit of cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is a real good stimulant, just a pinch, and cola berries. Cola vera is the letter name. Cola berries, and it's got natural caffeine in it. Actually, cola berries. But anyway, that's used for low blood pressure and people with adrenal stress and things like that. And so I gave only 2 drops every half hour, and I monitored the blood pressure with every half an hour, and it just went up and up and up to a very safe level of 120 over 74, I think, or something it was. So, and that was done within 3 or 4 hours. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so why I gave the cayenne pepper, so cayenne pepper is good for circulation. When a plant is red, you often know it's good for circulation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a stimulant, but it also has been known to be a catalyst to carry the herb faster to the sources it needs to be carried to.
Okay.
So it's a really good. The ginger is another one that's known to carry things faster. So you just it stimulates and it gives heat to the peripherals. Brings all the blood to the areas it needs to go to. Yeah.
What is it that herbalists call? Is it the doctrine of colors?
Doctrine of signature.
Of signature.
Yeah.
Okay, I got confused, right? Because
DOS.
something that's red, good for blood.
Yeah.
But what would the signature of an example like that be?
So I also teach something called the language of plants and what the plants tell you. So you know how people say, oh, the way herbal medicine was found was by watching animals and also by seeing whether you'd be poisoned or not. Well, that's a lot of rubbish. In my opinion, that's absolutely total rubbish. Because back then we were so in tune, we could sense and feel things and taste things. So and if you go into the bush, or if I would go into the bush, I can just grab a plant, look where they're growing, what shape they are, what color they are, taste a little bit, and by the taste, I will know what it'll be good for within the body and what it will do in the body. So by the shape, by the taste, by the color, where it's growing, all that stuff. Right. So that is doctrine of signatures, but it's also the plant is telling you what it's good for.
Right.
So you're picking up on the signal, the signs, or the language of the plant, and then discerning from there what it can do.
Yes. Yeah. Many plants have shapes like that, and sometimes if you go under the microscope, you can see even more shapes. Like red clover.
Right.
Red clover is shaped like the female genitals, so it's good for that as well.
Wow.
But it's red, so it's good for circulation, high blood pressure, anemia, low iron, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's fascinating. I love that part the most. And then with some people, intuition comes into that too. So the intuition, if you're intuitive, you might hear or feel different or sense different things. But it's not necessary to do that. You can just do it without being in tune with your intuition. It's not you can do it as an academic approach too. That's not doesn't have to be in that concept.
You were saying with your course, which you've just got about ready to go, and by the time this is published, people will be able to sign up on your course. Is that right?
Yes.
We'll put the description and the link below on this YouTube or in the show notes, so anyone who's interested can click on that and go and join up in your course. Is your course, where people are learning this philosophy, something that you already need to be a herbalist to do, or is it something that a brand new person to this field can get into?
It's for people who already have an interest in herbs, but not like somebody. Well, you can, I suppose. It depends on how strong your interest is, because it is kind of, it has a good glossary in there and explanations. So it's quite detailed. You have a lot of handout. I call them handouts, but they're not handouts.
Resource material.
Resource materials.
Yeah. Spoken like a true teacher. Handouts.
Well,
nice.
because all this online thing is very new to me. I'm old school, right?
Yeah.
So I've been always teaching face to face most of the time. So this is kind of all a new discovery in a new language I'm learning.
Yeah.
So resources.
It takes a little bit
good resources
to get your head around the technology and the way it works and navigating that for sure. But a useful tool, as we were talking before the podcast, a very useful tool to have.
Well, particularly because I'm reaching out just internationally.
Yes.
And I have so many people, like it took me 23 years of research to write this book. And so over those years, I've connected with so many different herbalists internationally. So there is already that interest. So this was the best way to reach everybody so they could learn more about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Or revisit it.
Yeah.
Or find out, because it's got case studies in there and, and how to do it. And there's no right or wrong way either. It's not like this is how you do it with low dosage. No, it's very, very different for everybody, because it's such an individual thing, because it is a person-specific dose.
Yeah, you said that a few times, a person-specific
Yeah.
dose. That's really sort of popped up in my brain as a real difference of intention in how you're trying to articulate it, because I think people get used to a generalized dose, whether it's in natural medicine or allopathic medicine, whether it's, the antifungal foot cream says use twice a day. There's a dose that's generalized for everyone. You're taking an entirely tailored approach.
Yes. Yes, and there is no wrong or right dosage, whether it's high or low. It's not that I'm saying you have to do low dosage. All I'm saying is there are other options besides just going higher. Why don't you try low first, and then you can always up. You can always titrate up. You can always give people more and more. But start low. And if you start low, you might be pleasantly surprised how effective it is. And how effective it has been and still is with many herbalists. If it wasn't effective, I wouldn't be sitting here today, still being a successful herbalist, right? Yeah.
Very true.
There's this trending thing in the US where people are talking about the consumption of magic mushrooms, but they use the phrase microdosing.
Yes.
Where they claim not to get any real effect from the magic mushroom. They don't appear to feel or experience being high, or if they are, it's so minimal they can't really notice. But then they talk about the long-term effect of having done this for many months at micro doses and how it's given them a sense of well-being. I can't help but draw a sense of parallel here between what I've just heard people are doing and what you've actually contextualized into a course and a methodology and an approach for good health, but with herbs. Legal, I might add.
Yeah. No, well, it's actually interesting you say that, because in some countries like Mexico, they call drop dosing or low dosing microdosing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just phraseology, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a phrase that's actually, interestingly, it comes from the Netherlands.
Really?
Yeah, they've done so many. They did it. They had a whole park of people where they did a trial on them, clinical trial with them taking mushrooms and microdosing them.
Wow.
They had hundreds of people they did it on. They've done a lot of research, and you look at it. There's a lot of clinical trials on there, and so they do microdose a lot of not just magic mushrooms, different mushrooms, and there are a lot of good mushrooms that you can use. I mean, my friend who's a doctor in Russia, they use I can't remember the proper name for it. Starts with an M, but you know those mushrooms with the white dots. They read and with the white dots. That we all see with the gnomes and stuff.
What are they, Jay?
Aromatic. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I was there 2 months ago, and she just eats them, right, dried. And she makes a tincture or a alcoholic extract out of and take a little bit, and it really builds up your vitality, and that's normal in that country.
Is that the mushroom?
And
you
here
might know?
Here it's highly poisonous. So that's how they conceive.
Is that the mushroom that was traditionally in Christmas decorations and in old paintings around Christmas time?
Yeah.
So
yes.
So why do you think it's highly poisonous for some people and not for others?
No, it's just the way you make it and how it's used.
Okay.
It really is, again, comes back to the dosage and the preparation. Yeah. It's how you prepare it and when you prepare it. It's very specific. The mushroom has to be grown very specifically, apparently. Okay. Yeah. But she was trying to say, "Here, have some."
Yeah.
So you're like, I haven't got the tolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so what I'm saying is it's all perspective, right?
Yeah.
What is poisonous in one country is not poison in the other. What is a high dose in another one is not in another. You know, what is conceived as a wrong tincture is different in another. You know, when you look at hydroalcoholic extracts, you know, their tinctures, that all varies too worldwide. Some of them, it has to be 90% alcohol. Others, it has to be 10%. Others, have to be 30%. Some of them has to be made under the moon, and now some of them have to be made in the sun, and some of them in a dark cupboard. It's all different, but none of them are wrong. It's just different. And that's the same with the dosing. It's not wrong to give a high dose. It's not wrong to give a low dose. It's just different. But if we can give something that's really specific to that person at a lower dose, we not only can save a lot of plants and the environment, but we can also save people money. That's how I look at it.
What a great spot to finish on today. Your book is required reading for the course, but of course it can also just be read for the pure enjoyment of it.
Yes.
And that interest and that passion. So where do people get hold of the book?
At the moment, it's still at my website. We are in the process of changing it so it's more available in different countries direct. But it's at www.rixtherbals.co.nz. Okay,
and Rixt's name is spelled with a T, R-I-X-T. Is it then Rixt's with an S after that?
Yes.
Rixt's okay, R-I-X-T-S herbals.co.nz.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. We'll put that in the show notes as well so people can click on it.
And just to say that it's not really an academic book, it's like a storybook. Yeah, with academia in it.
Yeah, with some great
case
examples.
It's written by a woman. I'm just kidding.
And we were very privileged to have her on the show.
Yeah, and before we finish, you also got your app as well. Is that up and running live? Can people download your app or get a hold of you via that as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask the person who's done it. I'm really sorry.
That's all right. We'll put that in the show notes as well so that people can, I mean, when Rob says the app, we're talking about your course, right?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah,
yes.
No, as long as I've got it right. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
so to do the course, which is 8 modules, you can do it through, I think it's a Mighty Networks app. So we'll link to that in the show notes as well.
Yes, okay.
Rixt, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much, Rixt.
Okay.
Amazing.
Thank you.